The NFL draft landscape just got hit by a nuclear bomb because Mel Kiper Jr. has officially dropped his updated big board for the 2026 class, and some of these rankings are straight up insulting. If you thought you knew who the best prospects in the country were, think again, because Kiper is flipping the script on everything we thought we knew about these athletes. From quarterbacks skyrocketing to the top to defensive studs falling out of favor, this list is a total disaster for some and a masterclass in scouting for others. But the real question is, what does this mean for the Cleveland Browns, who are sitting on a goldmine of picks and a roster that is one draft away from a Super Bowl run? Before we dive into this insane list of the top 25 players, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest NFL updates on the planet. We are talking daily content, breaking news, and the kind of deep dive analysis you won't find anywhere else. Let's get right into the fire. At the number 1 spot, Mel Kiper has Fernando Mendoza. Now, let that sink in for a second. This isn't a mock draft where we talk about team needs or who's going to the Raiders. This is a pure talent evaluation. Kiper believes Mendoza is the undisputed king of this class. It's a bold claim, especially with the level of talent we're seeing across the board, but Mendoza has that it factor that scouts are drooling over. Right behind him at number 2 is Jeremiah Love. This guy is a human highlight reel. There was some wild speculation floating around the internet that Cleveland might try to snag Love and pair him up with Quinton Judkins. Can you imagine that backfield? It would be a nightmare for every defensive coordinator in the AFC North. However, Judkins himself took to social media to shut that down, basically telling fans they don't know ball and that the running back room is already packed. Even if the Browns pass, Love is a generational talent who is going to make some GM look like a genius. Coming in at number 3 is Abdul Reese. He's that hybrid edge linebacker archetype that everyone wants but nobody knows how to label. Is he the next Micah Parsons? That's the dream. The athleticism is off the charts, but the big mystery is where he actually fits on an NFL Sunday. At number 4, we have David Bailey, the relentless pass rusher out of Texas Tech. If you need someone to collapse the pocket and terrorize quarterbacks, Bailey is your man. Rounding out the top 5 is Caleb Downs, the superstar safety from Ohio State. Now, here is where it gets spicy for Browns fans. If you're sitting there at pick 6 and Caleb Downs is on the board, do you take him? He's arguably a top 3 talent in this entire class. But wait until you hear why standing pat at number 6 might be the biggest mistake the front office could make. Here's the reality: Cleveland needs offense. Specifically, they need a brick wall on the offensive line and a vertical threat at wide receiver. If the top 5 goes according to Kiper's board, and players like Reese, Bailey, and Downs are staring you in the face at number 6, the Browns are in a precarious position. Do you take a defensive superstar just because he's the best player available, or do you reach for a need? The answer is simple: you don't do either. You trade down. If the Browns aren't going to pull the trigger on a guy like Caleb Downs, someone else will be desperate to move up and grab him. There are teams in the top 10 that would sell their soul for a defensive anchor like that. By moving back just a few spots, Cleveland could accumulate massive draft capital, maybe even an extra first-rounder from a team like the Cowboys, and still land the offensive players they've been eyeing. But who are those targets exactly? Who is the player that has the Browns scouts losing sleep? That brings us to the 6th best player on Kiper's list, another Ohio State product, Sonny Styles. He's a beast, but he's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Buckeyes in this draft. Who's to blame if the Browns stay at 6 and miss out on extra picks? Drop a name in the comments. Is it the GM, or should they just take the best player regardless of position? If you want to talk about wide receiver university, look no further than Columbus, Ohio. While the world was busy watching Jeremiah Smith, who isn't even eligible for this draft, Carnell Tate was busy putting up Hall of Fame level efficiency numbers. Kiper has Tate as his number 1 wide receiver, and for good reason. Tate is a technician. Last season, he averaged a staggering 17.2 yards per catch. But here is the stat that should make every Browns fan jump for joy: 0 drops. In an era where some of the biggest stars in the league struggle with focus drops, Tate is a vacuum. He doesn't just catch the ball, he dominates the catch point. NFL coaches love him because he's not a diva receiver. He'll go out there and flatten a cornerback in the run game without complaining. The scouts are comparing him to guys like Chris Olave or even a young Devontae Adams. He's polished, he's smooth, and he makes route running look like a choreographed dance. However, there's a catch. He wasn't a high-volume guy in college because he was sharing the field with other superstars. Does that mean he can't be a true WR1 in the pros? Or does it mean he's the freshest, most prepared receiver in the class? If Tate is the top target, where does that leave the other playmakers? Wait until you see the injury-prone star who might actually be the steal of the decade if his medical's clear. At number 9, Mel Kiper has Jordyn Tyson. On paper, Tyson is the best receiver in the country. He has the perfect build, the speed, and the ability to win 50-50 balls that reminds people of Justin Jefferson. When you watch the tape, he looks like a superstar. But there's a giant red flag: his injury history. This is the ultimate gamble for a team like Cleveland. Some analysts think he could slide all the way to pick 24 because of those health concerns. If the Browns could get a healthy Jordyn Tyson at the end of the first round, it would be the heist of the century. But if you take him at 6 and he can't stay on the field, it's a disaster that could set the franchise back years. Then you have the offensive line. Francis Mauigoa from Miami is sitting at number 8. He's a national champion and a mountain of a man. The Browns did work in free agency, but you can never have enough protection for your quarterback. The debate with Mauigoa is whether he's a tackle or a guard at the next level. He played right tackle for the Hurricanes, but some experts think his true home is at guard. If Cleveland wants a pure left tackle, they might have to look elsewhere. Speaking of mountains, Spencer Fano comes in at number 10. Between Mauigoa and Fano, Kiper has 2 elite linemen in his top 10, but neither of them is a sure thing at left tackle. This creates a massive headache for the front office. As we move into the teens on Kiper's board, the talent doesn't drop off, it just gets more specialized. At number 11, we have Makai Lemon. Kiper sees him as the third best receiver in the class, meaning there is a clear big 3 at the position. If the Browns trade down, Lemon is a name you need to remember. Then there's Aliamuya Fashanu's successor types, like Elijah Vera Tucker style guards. Specifically, Vega Ione from Penn State at number 12. Cleveland has some questions at guard, and while Ione might be a reach at 6, he is the perfect target if the Browns successfully navigate a trade-down scenario. This is where the strategy gets fascinating. If you move from 6 to 12, you could potentially grab Ione or a receiver like Lemon while picking up a second-round pick in the process. It's all about maximizing value. But not every player in the top 15 fits the Browns' mold. For example, Kenyon Sutty at number 13 is an athletic freak at tight end, but with the current roster construction, it's hard to see Cleveland using a premium pick there. The defensive backfield is also represented well with Jamin McCoy and Mansour Delane at 14 and 15. Both are lockdown corners, but Cleveland is likely looking to bolster the trenches or the perimeter on offense before they look at the secondary. But wait until you hear about the offensive tackle who is skyrocketing up the board so fast that he might actually be the pick at number 6. If there is one name that is on everyone's lips right now, it's Monroe Freeling. Ranking at number 17, he has made a meteoric rise up Kiper's big board. This is a guy who is still developing, but the raw tools are terrifying. He's 6 feet 7 inches, he runs a sub 5.00 40, and he has arms that seem to reach from one sideline to the other. Kiper is raving about Freeling's pass protection. He's quick out of his stance and has the high-level IQ to pick up stunts and blitzes that usually confuse young linemen. He needs to get stronger in the run game, but you can't coach that kind of length and speed. Many mock drafts are starting to link Freeling directly to Cleveland at pick 6. It's a swing for the fences move. Do you take the polished receiver, or do you take the developmental tackle with a Hall of Fame ceiling? But Freeling isn't the only lineman in the mix. You've also got Caden Proctor at 18, though some scouts worry he might be a bit too slow for the modern NFL edge rushers. Then there's Maxie Hanier at 23, a versatile beast who didn't allow a single sack last year. He can play both tackle spots, and that kind of versatility is worth its weight in gold. We finally hit the quarterback position again at number 25 with Ty Simpson. There is a lot of noise connecting Simpson to Cleveland because of coaching connections, but let's be real, this would be a polarizing move. Simpson is a game manager, plus. He's not the guy who's going to run over a linebacker or throw a 70-yard bomb off his back foot. He's more in the mold of a Brock Purdy, someone who needs a great system around him to thrive. The question for Cleveland is, do you really want to spend a first-round pick on a quarterback when you have desperate needs at tackle and receiver? If the current quarterback situation doesn't improve, the 2027 class is looking much stronger at the top than the options available at the end of the first round this year. The consensus among the die-hard fans is clear: protect the quarterback you have and give him weapons. Don't go chasing a system guy when you don't even have the offensive line to keep him upright. Kiper's top 25 is a map of where the NFL is heading. It's a league that values elite pass catchers, massive tackles, and hybrid defenders who can do it all. For the Browns, this draft is the ultimate crossroads. They have the picks, they have the targets, and now they have Mel Kiper's roadmap. Which path should they take? Should they go with the sure thing in Carnell Tate, or gamble on the massive upside of Monroe Freeling? Maybe they should just blow it all up and trade down for a haul of picks. The clock is ticking, and the draft room is heating up. Would you like me to generate a 7-round mock draft specifically for the Cleveland Browns based on these new big board rankings?